Welcome to Safe Action. This is the Wise Defender podcast where we discuss guns, gear, training, and all kinds of things that help you become a wise defender. My name is Andrew Kohler, and today we're talking about, should you take a training class? Is that really that valuable to you? And then we're also double dipping because we're going to talk about the wrong way to take firearms training courses. But first, is it even helpful? We're just going to jump right in. Really no housekeeping stuff today. First of all, I just want to say, yes, it's helpful. No, it's not necessary. Some people are going to interpret that different ways, but basically, do you need to take a firearms class in order to see improvement in yourself? Actually, no. A lot of people today are self-taught. I personally developed a lot of my skill, the majority of my skill, by consuming content and doing my own independent research. You can learn a lot without a firearms instructor being present. The other side of that, though, is, I've noticed me being able to get over my biggest hurdles in the presence of a firearms instructor. For example, I was stuck at kind of a 1.5 to best was like 1.3 holster draw to first shot time, and it was spending time with the firearms instructor who could watch me, see what I'm doing, give me specific advice that allowed me to achieve a 1.1, 1.0, 0.9 second draw. So things like that. Can you learn the basics just by consuming online content? Absolutely. There's a lot of really helpful stuff out there for that. But if you're like, man, I'm overwhelmed. I know that there's good stuff out there. I also know that there's not such good stuff. There's content that is unhelpful or wrong. What do I do? It can be good to find a local firearms instructor and get training with someone. I mean, human interaction, one-on-one human interaction is always going to be a preferred learning method for most people. That's just how it goes, right? You can't, you can type things in to your computer, but you can't have a conversation with it per se. I mean, with ChatGPT, you kind of can now, but it's so much easier to be face-to-face with an instructor, ask specific questions, allow them to watch you perform, and be able to identify specific areas where you might be having hangups. This is especially true when it comes to firearm safety, because you can watch videos online explaining the 4 firearm safety rules or, the 3 NRA safety rules, but firearm safety is kind of one of those things that you can be doing it poorly and have no idea, because you're focused on so many things all at one time that it's just too much, right? And so you kind of get distracted from the gun, or you're so focused on the gun maybe that you lose track of what you're doing, that your finger's on the trigger, or that your muzzle's in a non-safe direction, or unsafe direction, I guess I should say. So it is helpful to go to the range with the presence of someone who's experienced and can coach you through that process. Even just helping you understand what's good product, what's bad product, what's something that I can be happy with, especially if I'm going to invest $400, $500, $600 into a piece of equipment to protect myself, or for home defense or whatever it might be. So I absolutely recommend involving gun shops and firearms instructors in your journey. I would say it's probably the most helpful for people who are starting out, or people who are on the higher end of intermediate and looking to break through towards the more advanced space. There's kind of that pocket in the middle where, you're at the high end of beginner or the lower end of intermediate, where it's like you kind of already know the stuff now, right? You've heard the spiels, the firearm safety rules, how to hold a gun, the basics of marksmanship. Now it's just going out and practicing and just getting in the reps and doing it over and over again and pushing yourself and pushing your speed. shooting at different distances, all that stuff. There's like firearms instructors are helpful and important, but at the end of the day, I personally believe, this is somewhat controversial, but I don't think a gun instructor can make you better. Only you can make you better. What the gun instructor does is give you information so that you can go make you better. But they can't do the reps for you. They can't just like wave a magic wand and then all of a sudden you have, 8 months of muscle memory built up in your hands. Like, they can't do that for you. You have to be the one to do that. It takes time and dedication and putting in work, right? It's like any sport, right? I love using this example. No one took their first piano lesson and then the next day played in the Sydney Opera Hall. Like, that's not how it goes, right? It takes time, dedication, and practice if you want to get good at anything. So, yes, you can show up to a class and go from 0 to 60 with the presence of a firearm instructor. I'm not saying that there's no use and that they can't help you improve. That's not what I'm saying. I've personally helped new shooters within a 30 to 20 minute window take their groups from literally all over the paper to, maybe not that tight, but like at least within the A zone. And seeing that improvement happen quickly. Actually, that's not true. I have taken people who are all over the place and taken them in. That was like 5 minutes, and now they're shooting. Basically outshot everybody else on the range. That was also helping them find the right equipment and giving them a red dot that worked for them. But that's exactly the point, right? If that individual just went on his own information-seeking journey by himself, his road would have been a lot longer. So having someone there who can impart their decades of knowledge and information to you is extremely helpful. Very, very helpful. Although, again, I just, it's not necessary. If that's what's keeping you from going to the range and practicing, is they're like, I just can't afford that right now, or I don't have the time for that right now. Do whatever you can, and there's a lot of information out there that's pretty easy to find and pretty easy to consume. So you have options. But this is kind of like the this, but also that kind of situation where it's like, do you need to take a gun class to be able to shoot well? No, you don't need to, but there's a lot of value there, and you're really going to be cutting down the amount of time that you otherwise would be spending to get to the same place that you're eventually going to get to, I would hope. So that's my take on that. And just jumping back real quick to my comment about firearms instructors don't make you better, you make you better. Again, I do acknowledge that, yes, spending time with someone who's an instructor, they can take you and improve you. Like, I did some stuff with active self-protection, and they genuinely helped me with my holster draw speed. Like, they did that, right? I didn't manifest. I didn't make that up on my own, but they were able to do that because of the times and the rep that I had put in beforehand to get to the skill level that I was at. And guess what? After that day, I went back to the hotel room, went back to regular life, and my holster draw time went up again. Why? I wasn't getting reps in. I wasn't practicing. There's a difference between being able to do something and being able to consistently do something. The idea of what's your warm-up performance versus what's your cold start. And if you haven't heard those terms before, it's basically if you get into it, if you get all warmed up and you try it several times, eventually you can achieve this, right? And it's like, congratulations, you did that. But your cold start time, that's when you're cold, no warm-up. What are you able to do? And people who take training seriously and are professionals in the firearm industry, they measure based off of their cold start performance, because that's what they can do consistently a term is performance on demand. I love that phrase, performance on demand. Can you perform at any time on demand? What is your level of, yeah, I can consistently do that. That's no problem. That's basically subconscious. It's unconscious competence. I can do that. It's a sure thing. Versus you're like, oh man, I might be able to do it. I have to really focus and concentrate, but I might be able to do that. Compared to like, no man, if I do that successfully, that's luck. And our goal is always to move the ball forward so that more of the things that we want to be able to do, shooting at further distances, managing recoil, cleaner trigger press, more precision in our marksmanship, all that stuff becomes a subconscious thing. It's unconscious competence. That's the direction we want to move in. And a firearms instructor can help introduce you to these things. They can give you concepts. They can help you do it on the range, but then it's up to you to build that into cold start performance. Hopefully that makes sense, and I kind of clarified that a little bit more. But yeah, again, feel free to disagree with me. Do so, please, respectfully and politely in the comments. But yeah, give me your thoughts. One other thing I do want to talk about, and I think, I don't know, this, I go back and forth on this, and I want to articulate this carefully because I get it, right? Basically, the concept is some people do firearms classes, in my opinion, I don't know, incorrectly is maybe not the right word, but there are people who they class hop, right? It seems to me that they take gun classes as an experience, not for the experience, if that makes sense. They're just excited to do something that seems cool, or, you know, bragging rights. Oh, I worked with this person. I trained under that person. Oh, I got to, you know, do this with this equipment. And it kind of seems like bragging rights, you know, cool stories to tell around the campfire. And you might be like, dude, how do you even know that? Like, there's no way you can know that. And you're right. Yeah, I don't know what's motivating them. But at the same time, I've been in classes where these, you know, you have some guys, they're sharing their war stories, you know, not actual war stories, but it's them like, oh yeah, and in this class we got to shoot from a helicopter, and then in this class, you know, it was a night vision class, in this class, and it's like, oh yeah, these are cool stories, but I mean, I've seen, no disrespect, but it's like, and of course you don't say this to them, but it's like you're thinking, I've seen your performance today. Would that money not have been better spent in range fees and ammo? Like, it's, and here's the thing, I say that hey, it's your time and your money, spend it how you want. I don't mind if you want to go to a 4-man CQB class and do that for a weekend. I don't mind if you want to do vehicle tactics classes or drive a tank or all kinds of that stuff. I mean, all of that sounds like a great time. I would love to do all of those things. But the question becomes, what are you trying to achieve? If your goal is, I want to be proficient with the rifle. I mean, not just good, not just like, yeah, I know how to use this thing. I can load it, I can unload it, I can shoot what I'm aiming at. But I'm talking about, can you, like, how quickly after sprinting can you bring the gun up and get 2 A-zone hits quickly? Like, can you do that? What about your target transition speed? What's that like? What about from low ready? Do you have measurable performance standards for yourself? And even if you don't, can you say that, like, yeah, I'm not just good with this thing, I'm capable. I'm very capable with this tool. And I'm just going to say, like, if you aren't measuring your performance, it's going to be hard to know whether or not you're actually improving. And you can go from class to class and not see a lot of improvement, because it's really up to you in between classes to grow your skill through repetition and spending time on the range. The other side of that would be someone who says, yeah, maybe they don't take a lot of gun classes, but they're like, I like to take one gun class each year just to kind of keep myself sharp. And to me, how I interpret that is, Um, I I don't go out to the range that often, but I'm using gun class time as my range time to build pistol proficiency or rifle proficiency. And I would say a similar thing to that. So okay, you're not class hopping, but you're still using classes incorrectly. Like what we said before, you can get information from a class, but then it's up to you to cement that and turn that into skill on demand for yourself. The instructor can't do that for you. And just because you took a class 10 months ago, 8 months ago, doesn't mean that you have that skill accessible to you right now. It's only accessible to you if you build it into yourself. It becomes muscle memory. So you can go either direction, right? You can take so few classes and not practice that, you know, your firearms handling just isn't there, but you can also take a bunch of classes and still not have that proficiency that you might be expecting because you're not putting in the valuable ingredient of your time on the range, your repetition in between those classes. So, and I would argue, I mean, again, your time, your money, have all the fun you want in this wonderful industry. But if you are taking CQB classes because you think that's cool and important, and you're taking classes where you can shoot from a helicopter, but on the flat range, you can't fire 2 shots quickly and keep them inside the A zone. Like that's, I would respectfully argue that that's a misprioritization, and that some of those core skills should be built up first before then adding in all this dynamic stuff. I think a lot of people though think I want to get exposure to all these little pieces so that I can then go and practice them all on my own time, but then they never do. They never find the time because life gets busy. And so what you ended up doing is just creating a bunch of cool memories for yourself, but the skill set isn't really there. So, and again, like I'm not trying to be I'm not ragging on that. Again, if that's what you want to do, you're like, dude, I want to go to a warrior poet class and just rip rifles, with Paul or with John, and that's what I want to do because that just sounds like a great way to spend the weekend. Then great, you can do that. The question is, if you're like, oh, I really want to get better though, I want to increase my skills, and it's like, okay, that means after that class is done, you should, if you're a member of your local range, you should schedule a slot for the next weekend at your local range. Hopefully you were taking notes during that class, and then now you're going to go run drills yourself. Work on the fundamentals first, and then as you get towards the end of your day, combine fundamentals and just keep that going. So that's what I would recommend. Don't just class hop. If you're going to invest in firearms instructors and do, as my buddy likes to call it, do gun school, then that's only valuable to you if you put into practice those things afterwards, because it is a perishable skill, and it's perishable, but I would argue you don't have this skill in general until you create that through repetition. So I hope this is helpful. Brief recap is it necessary to take a gun class of any type for beginners or intermediate or advanced? I would say not necessarily. No, it's not necessary, but is it helpful? Absolutely. Especially the higher up you get, the more the nuances that you want to polish, I would say that's where it becomes the most helpful. Or if you're just starting out, you're overwhelmed and you have no idea where to start, absolutely helpful. But then when you do take classes, make sure you're actually pulling from them what is meant, and then implementing that yourself. Don't just enjoy the ride, but take it seriously. Try to retain what you're learning so that you can then go take that and practice it on your own time. And then make sure that you're putting in those reps, and then take more classes, even basic or core fundamental classes, to make sure the stuff that you've been doing on your own is correct, right? That I haven't deviated or built any bad habits in the meantime. But whether like how I can perform in a basic class helps me understand if I'm even ready for an intermediate class versus just going up and signing up for an intermediate class because I've already taken a basic class. Like, you can do that, but I think some people get in over their heads because they show up to an intermediate class and don't realize that just because they took a basic class 2 years ago and haven't really been practicing since doesn't make them, they're not ready. They're just not ready. They don't have the skill set built up to really take advantage of those higher level classes yet. So I hope this was helpful, and I'll see you guys on the range.